All right, so we're at 6:05. I'm going to get us started. I'm sure we'll have a lot of people joining throughout. So you're all here for the Mustang Grade 9 Parent Referee course. Is everyone in the right place? If not, let me know. We'll figure it
So
out.
this is only for parents of grade 9 students?
Yeah, so this is the course if you have kids in U8, U10, and even some U12 rec or rec plus. So if you have kids playing in those groups, you're in the right place. Does that answer your question, Daryl?
Uh, yes, I assume that the U is their grade number, right? So it's not their age, it's their grade number.
No, it's their age. Sorry, for referees, we always go by ages, not years.
Okay.
So if they're in under 8, under 10, if your kids are pretty much 11 or under and they're playing rec, this is the right place for you.
Right.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
grade
that
9 in the
answers.
course has nothing to do with the kid's grade in school, right?
Correct. I'll explain what
Okay.
the grade 9 is. But yeah, so don't get confused. There's a lot of confusion actually with like the different certifications and stuff. So don't get caught up on the grade 9. We need to clear that up and change it for next year. But it's all about
Yes.
ages. So if your kids
Yeah.
are 11 or under and they're playing rec, you're in the right place.
Okay. So I am in the right place. The grade
Yeah.
9 did throw me off,
Yeah.
but I'm resolved. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions? Everyone kind of knows why you're here. You've probably been asked by your coaches to help. So that's correct. Gonna just jump in. So I wanted to cover a couple things before I get into material, and I also want to talk about like what we're gonna go over in the next few hours. I really hope we're not here till 10 o'clock, but that'll kind of depend on questions. I'm gonna try to get us out of here close to 9. And we'll go from there. So ultimately, this is a course. I'm going to start with this one, where this material came from. About 4 or 5 years ago, there was a thing from US Soccer for grade 9 officials, which was a course made for people doing the 7v7 and 9v9 rec game. So this material was built by US Soccer for you all, for like the levels that your kids are playing. That's where I took this material from. That grade 9 course and grades in general have been removed. Now it's just grassroots referee, regional referee. But before it was like grade 9 all the way to grade 1, which was like a FIFA ref. So that's what it was maybe 25, 30 years ago. And recently they've changed it. But the material that I kind of stole was from that grade 9 course. So there's no grade 9 course anymore from US Soccer, but the material was really good for this level. So that's why I'm kind of using this material, and that's why it's called grade 9. In the past, when new referees would start, they'd be a grade 8. Then when they would upgrade, they go to 7, 6, 5, all the way down. But so that's just the background on this grade 9. So my background is I started refereeing for Mustang when I was 12 years old, and I've been reffing for over 25 years now. I came up through Mustang, and then I reffed in San Diego and DC, all over, and I've done pretty much every level. I did professional games in DC. I've done every youth level. I've done high school, college. So that's a little bit about me. I've been involved since I started with Mustang at 12 years old. There's 2 different certifications we talk about, and I've gotten a lot of questions, but we have our grade 9 parent referee, which you're all going through the course right now for that. Then there's also the USSF certified referee, which is there's like 6 to 8 hours of online work, and then there's a live field session that people have to go to in order to get that certification. And when you get this certification, this is when you can start getting paid to do games. I would highly recommend, if you guys like what you're doing, as your kids become older and at 13, they can get this certification, and it would be a good time for you all to get it as well, if they want like their first job and to get some experience. But that's the two certifications we do. This grade 9 one is just like a Mustang internal certification. So if you say you're a grade 9 ref to people in a different city, they're not going to know what that means. Any questions on that? Okay. I want to just do a quick little demo of where some material is that I'll be referring to through this training. So I'm going to go to our Mustang website. Can you all see this, or do you want me to make it full screen?
We can see it.
Okay, so at the Mustang homepage, this is just mustangsoccer.com. Under About, there's referees. And so if you ever go to the referees page, this homepage has like the details on how to become a USSF certified referee. And then here's the grade 9 parent referee. So if, for example, there's only one person from your team here, and somebody else is going to get certified. After this class, I'm going to update this link with the recording, and all the material will be here after the class. So then other people can get certified pretty easily on their own time. So this is where all that would live. The other thing I want to call out is this link right here, modifications to the laws of the game. And I put that in here. So Mustang site about referees and modifications. I'm going to click on that. This is kind of like a one pager on the rules. So depending on your level, I called out a lot of the specifics that are important for you to know for your level and the rules. I'll refer back to this just as we're learning more to really dive in and double click on some of these. So it makes a lot of sense for you. Those are the two big things I want to call out. So from this homepage, the modifications and then the grade 9. All right. So I'm going to jump in, and there's 17 laws. So as we go through this, there's 17 PowerPoints. I'm going to go through each law. Some of them are really short. Some of them are a little bit longer and more entailed, but I'll go through each law and ask questions as we go. Yeah, like I said, this is going to be as interactive as you want. So if you ask a lot of questions, we could be here a little bit longer, but you'll get more information. If you don't have very many questions, we'll kind of run through the material. Make sense? All right. So I'm going to minimize this. Law 1 is the field. So there's a lot of guidelines around the dimensions of the field. And what I'm going to be talking about is more specifically what's important for you all. So the field size, I wouldn't necessarily worry about that. The fields that you're all going to be playing on, we've verified and made sure that the sizes are within the parameters that they should be. But ultimately, the thing for you to remember is that all the fields need to be a rectangle. There should be boundary lines, which are the sideline is called the touch line. And then the one where the goal is, that's called the goal line. And these are kind of important terms for you if you're trying to explain something to a coach or somebody. And as we go through the material, we're going to refer to these terms. So touch line and goal line. And then over here, we have the different ages and the field size for those ages. Like I said, you won't really need to worry about this, but the key that I want to call out on this slide is that kind of U8 is usually in this category, but we have our U8s playing up. They're playing like the U9 and U10 field size. So on a U8 field, U9s and U10s could play there as well. So just FYI, sometimes U6, U7, and U8 are all combined on the field size, but our U8s are playing up a little bit as far as field size goes. So here we have a couple more field markings. So this little hash on the corner is called the corner area. There's a halfway line, there's a center circle and a center mark. Then there's this big box is the penalty area. And many of you probably know the penalty area, but the small box is called the goal box. So those, and here it's listed over here. So those are some terminology. So penalty area and goal box, those are sometimes people use them synonymously and they're different. And then the boundary, the build out line. So the build out line, and I'm gonna go back to our cheat sheet over here. I put in about the build out line when it's used. So build out line is these four. And if we go up, so U8, U9 and U10, U9, U10 and U9. So pretty much U8 through U10 is all using the build out line. So if your kids are playing U8, U9, U10, it's a build out line. If they're playing under 12, they're not using the build out line. So it's pretty much 7v7. They're using the build out line. And what the build out line is there's another line on the field that's kind of halfway between the halfway line and the goal line. And this is to help kill goalkeepers. Once they collect the ball, all the attackers need to go behind this line. It helps the defense build out the play so that once they get the ball, everyone needs to go behind this line so that they and their defense can start building out play. That's a new line. And for the 7v7, for that's U8, U9, and U10. It's not necessarily 10 yards. It's usually 8 yards. So the field markings are going to be, this is like an 8-yard circle. The penalty area is going to have an 8-yard hash. So the field markings are slightly different than a big field. And that makes a lot of sense because the field's not that big. Because usually the penalty area is 18 yards and it's 12 yards. So there's some little differences, but like I said, you're not gonna have to necessarily worry about the dimensions on the field, but it is good for you just to know that there are differences. So safety, field safety is
Hey,
always.
Justin, real quick,
Yeah,
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It looks like it was hidden down, at least in my screen. Can you just talk real quick about when the attacking players can make a play on the ball once the goalkeeper has it?
so I have a little
Specifically about
video.
the build-out line.
Yeah, I have a video that will cover it, but ultimately, once the keeper collects the ball, nobody can make a play for the ball. You know, everyone, even if they're gonna do a goal kick, everyone needs to go behind the build out line, all the attackers. Does that answer your question, Christian?
Yeah, but when at what point can the attackers make a play on the ball?
So up until the keeper has possession.
So once the keeper distributes the ball, then the attackers can make a play, correct?
Yep, exactly.
Thank you.
All right. So safety is number one. You know, everything about soccer is always the number one thing that we want to be out there, and our responsibility as referees is to make sure everyone's safe. So generally, I mean, it says to get there 30 minutes before. Just get there when like when your kids need to be there. Usually it's about half an hour before, if not longer, but you get there and you kind of look around and just see if there's any issues with the field. What I've seen is sometimes there's puddles. Sometimes like the goal area might be really slippery, or there might be like no sandbags supporting the goal. Those are the types of things that you want to look for just to make sure the field's safe. If there are any issues, all you need to do is kind of let the home team know, and then it's their responsibility to fix the issues if they can be. A lot of times I'll end up getting a call, or Fred will end up getting a call, and we'll have to figure out what to do if there's big field issues. Ultimately, if there's an issue that can't be resolved and it would make the field unsafe to play, we're not going to be able to play the game. There's too much. The goal is for safety. So that's kind of the main thing on this law. So now we talk about the goal sizes, and once again, the U8s are using the same size goals as U9s and U10s. And I think there's just one goal that's a lot smaller. And if you just look at the heights, like if it's 4 feet tall versus 6.5 feet tall, that's a pretty big difference. So odds are you're going to be using the U8, U9, or U10 goal. The 11 and 12 is slightly bigger. And so this is one of the things where I've seen a lot of times I go out to the field and the U10s are using the U12 goal. So we've tried to label them so it's pretty clear, but these are the dimensions that it should be. All right, so goal safety. I mentioned this earlier, but we need all the goals. This is like the biggest thing with safety that I see for these age groups is a lot of times the goals aren't weighed down. And if a goal falls on players, which can happen with a big gust of wind, if it's not weighed down, that's the big issue. So we want to make sure all the goals are weighed down, and there's weights. Just sometimes people don't put them out there. So that's the first one. There's also stakes that and some goals are like permanently placed there. Your goals are mostly going to be weighed down with sandbags. The other thing is nets. So sometimes we have issues with nets. I've seen people using the U12 net on the U10 game, and then when the U12s have their goal out, they're trying to put the U10 net on their goal and it doesn't fit. Ultimately, you don't need a goal to play a game, a net to play a game. I always think about like third world countries where they're playing soccer and they don't have the money for nets. Like it's not a requirement because IFAB is an international group that builds out all these rules. So it's not a requirement. We have nets, but sometimes there's an issue. So don't let that be a reason why we wouldn't play a game. And once again, if there is an issue, just have the home coach, let the home coach know, and they'll probably get a hold of myself or Fred, and we'll figure out what we need to do. So corner flags. We have corner flags at all the fields. They need to be, a corner flag should be 5 feet tall. And the reason they're 5 feet tall, especially for the younger kids, is we don't want players, we don't want them too small where like a player can run into it and not notice it and then get injured. And also corner flags shouldn't be moved. A lot of times players will want to move them so they can do a corner kick, but you can't move the corner flag anytime during the game. So that's kind of the key thing there, because if you move things around, then people could get injured because they don't know where it is and step in the wrong spot. Team areas. So team areas should be pretty much right by half field and to one side or the other. And you can put their benches right over there, or that's where the team will hang out. That space is referred to as like the technical area. That's where the coaches can coach from. A lot of times what you'll see is coaches running the whole way down the touchline. Technical areas are usually 20 yards. So if you see coaches running all the way down to the corner flag, the way we usually say that is say, hey, coach, you got to stay in your technical area. And the technical area is usually from half field and then 20 yards. That's it. They can't go coaching all over the place. That's not what we want. And they put it in under the field because, you know, it's part of the field. That's the only area that they should be coaching from. All right. So a couple review questions, and if you could, let me open up the chat. How many people? We have 20 people. I'll open up the chat, but if you feel free to type your answers in the chat or just come off mute, we'll run through these. So who should correct any reported problems with the field of play? Referee, away team, home team, or spectators?
Home team.
Perfect. I'm seeing it in the chat.
What if they can't correct it? I mean, it seems like, I mean, you want to be safe, but you'd be hard pressed, you know, if it was kind of in a gray area to just call off the game, right?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Heath, putting up cones. Like if you don't have corner flags, tell the home team and they'll call probably Fred, and we'll get corner flags out there. And it doesn't have, that's not a reason why you would not play the game, for example. But if there's a big puddle and everyone's going to trip and fall and hurt themselves, that's maybe something we need to try and find another field for. So that's the message is tell the home team. They'll end up calling someone from Mustang and we'll figure out either how to fix it or what we can do.
Okay, so they should just call and then you can advise what they need to do. All right.
Yeah. I
Thanks.
like I said, I mean, use some common sense too. If it's something minor, like there's no build out line, you can use cones and just let us know, and then we can get a build out line painted on there probably the next day.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Must the goals be securely anchored to the ground before starting play? Yep. See. Good. At a minimum, how many minutes before the game should the referee team arrive? And this one, yeah, you see the answer, but since you're all parent volunteers, if the coach is asking you to be there 20 minutes early, 20 minutes is fine. Will the local rules of competition determine the size of the goals used in a small-sided youth game? So yeah, I don't know if I covered this one explicitly, but like IFAB says, actually USSF, the laws of the game says there's certain like parameters for U8 versus U10. And what we do is we actually have U8s play up. So that's kind of our local rules of competition. So the answer here is yes. All right. The corner flags must be at least how many feet high? Good, good. All right. We got law 1 done. Okay, I'm going to move us on to law 2. And actually, while we're here, let me just go to our little cheat sheet. So law 1, the field, I didn't put in like dimensions or anything here, so there's nothing super specific to call out on that cheat sheet. All right, law 2. So law 2 is the ball. There's a lot of things related to the ball and ball safety. So they have a whole law designated for the ball. But ultimately, it's the referee's responsibility to make sure the ball meets the requirements. So there's 3 sizes of balls, size 3, 4, and 5. That's what we're going to be using. You need to know the correct size for your competition, and that's on the cheat sheet, by the way. And then here's also the groups and the ball sizes. So U8 uses size 3, 9, 10, 11, and 12 all use size 4, and then U13, which is when they go to the big field, they start using size 5. So a couple things on ball safety. When we get started with a game, it's important to check the ball. So a lot of times what I'll see on balls is the ball might be peeling or ripped, and that could be unsafe, especially if it maybe hits someone's leg above the knee. It could scratch them or cut them. The ball, you want it to be pumped up. A lot of times these flat balls, they can make people miss where they're supposed to kick, and then they could get injured. The other couple things is like I've seen wobbly balls, and you can check by just spinning the ball up in the air. And if you spin it and it like moves up and down as it's in the air, you can kind of see that that ball has been like sat on, for example, like people sit on their soccer balls, it gets them lopsided. And then, if that's the case, it could injure somebody when they kick it because they're not expecting the ball to be where it goes. So ultimately, if a ball becomes defective, here's a couple restarts. So during play, if the ball, if someone kicks it and it goes completely flat, what happens is you stop play, you replace the ball, and then you restart with a drop ball. And I'll talk about drop balls later, but ultimately that's what you do. If nobody had you don't know, I was going to say about possession, but if it just drops, it's going to be a drop ball, and drop balls now are going to one team. So if it becomes defective, let's say it gets kicked out over the touchline and then it becomes defective, you just replace the ball and restart as you normally would, like if it's going to be a throw in or something. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. It's pretty logical. All right, some review questions here. Who is responsible for ensuring that the game ball is suitable and safe for play? The ref, yeah, good. And that was a quick one. That was Law 2, the ball. And I'm going to go to our little cheat sheet here. So Law 2, the ball, U8, size 3, U9, U10, size 4, size 4, size 4. So it's all in here. So you don't, that was the main takeaway from that law. Any questions before I jump into the players? All right. Bring up my little notes in here. So Law 3 is all about the players. There's a check-in process. So with your games, there should be a game card, number one. That's where you'd start. So when you get there and you get the game card, I generally will do the check-in about 10, 15 minutes before the game's supposed to start. You get the game card, and then you go to each team and kind of do your safety check. And I don't think they're going to have player passes in rec. So you can just look at the roster. What I usually do when I do that is just make sure there's numbers on the roster in case there is a card. So you check the numbers and then you do a safety check with the whole team. And you generally just check the cleats, that they have shin guards, all those things. But that's what you're going to start with. You're going to start with checking in the players. So one of the tricky parts about this law is like there's different parameters on how many players can be on the field at a different time. So I'm just going to refer back to our chart here and the players. So for U8, it's a 7v7 game. So the max that someone could have on the field is 7. The minimum is 5. So if a team has players running late, if there's more than 2 red cards on a team, then they can't play. But this is the max and the minimum. So 7v7. And then if it's U12, the max is 9 because it's 9v9. And then the minimum is 6. So I put those in here as a cheat sheet because that's kind of the thing to be aware of. And I also put it here. So you can see on the U8 through U10 is 7v7. That includes the keeper. U11 and U12 is 9v9, including the goalkeeper. So substitutions.
So Justin,
Yeah.
so if a team is less than the min, do they, to start with, do they forfeit, or, I mean, how do you handle that? Or what if the opposing team says, oh, one of their players will play on the other team so they can play?
Yeah. So what I would generally do is, like, let's say there's 4 players there for a U8 game. Then, there's a 15-minute grace period from NorCal. So at that point, the game's over. If the coach is like, hey, we're only going to have 4, if we could have some players, then you can ref the game, but make sure that, hey, like one team wins. You're going to have to mark the score as like it's technically a forfeit, but you can still play. They can still play the game, and it just won't mean anything. Does that make sense?
Okay, so they can just play because they're there, but technically it's a forfeit for the team with less than the min.
Right.
Okay.
I will also say, if that's the case and the coach knows ahead of time that you're not going to be able to field a team, let Fred know, because sometimes we can try to move the game like to another weekend where they might have more players, if we have enough notice.
Good to know. Thanks.
Yep. So substitutions. There's a few things that I want to talk about with substitutions, but I did make the rules that substitutions, I'm going to just call this out on the thing here. So under law 3, because I put the numbers here, but substitutions, any stoppage. So that means the ball goes over the touchline, the goal line, you know, typical substitution times, but also if there's a drop ball, if there's a free kick, people can sub on any stoppage in the game. And there's no like limit. This isn't professional where they can only get like 3 subs in a game. So they can have as many subs as they want at any stoppage. So I just want you all to be aware. That's one of our local rules that we put in place. So the substitution procedure is during a stoppage, the key is that they have to inform the referee. And when I say referee, throughout this whole training, the referee is the person in the center. The assistant, like they can't just tell the assistant referee on their touchline that they want to sub, because the center referee is the one that has the whistle and can actually stop the game. So they have to let the center referee know. And what I generally do is when they say sub, I'll give 2 whistles. I'll go tweet, tweet, and that as the game progresses, they start understanding what I'm doing. That always says stop the game. 2 whistles, stop the game. And at that point, then the referee, you can approve the change. So I'll give tweet, 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 and then I'll say call him off. Like I'll hold my hand up, call him off. I want to see who's coming off the field. And then after that, those players come off the field, then you can have the substitutions enter the field. This matters at the higher levels just because if a player comes on too quick and they commit a foul while the player that was supposed to come off hasn't come off yet, you got your hands full, like just from a technical standpoint. So you always want the players to leave the field and then the substitutes to enter the field after. And I'd recommend you trying to do that. If we don't do that at these levels, when they get up to the 13s, 14s, 15s, the cards could come out if they jump on the field too quickly.
And is it a drop ball to restart play?
So it depends on what the reason was that the play was stopped. So if it goes out over the touchline and there's a throw in, and that's when they want to sub, then they do the sub and then you restart with the throw in the way it was going to go. If it was a free kick, you do the subs and then you do the free kick just the way that it was supposed to go. So it depends on what the original reason was for the stoppage.
Oh, okay, so it's only during the stoppage. You can't. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Can either team substitute on a throw in? Doesn't matter whose possession it is.
Correct. Yeah. So any stoppage means like if team A is attacking and they're about to take a free kick that's going to be a goal, or that's like right outside the penalty area and they're about to take a shot on goal, the team B can sub at that time.
Okay.
That's why it's important for this part right here, for the referee to approve the sub. Like if all the momentum and the team wants to kick it quickly, you don't have to approve the sub. You can say, hold on, we'll do it on the next one. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions on subs? These happen a lot, so it's good to spend a little bit of time here.
So it's elective. If you know, it's underrated. But I mean, yeah, you can say get on the next one if it's end of the game or whatever.
Yeah, like I see this a lot. If there's like a minute left and a team's trying to sub, you don't have to approve that sub. You can be like, no, we don't have much time left, coach. We're not gonna, because by the time they finish the sub, you're gonna have to call a game.
What if they just start subbing players in during play, like without asking for your approval?
Yeah, so I mean that's common. Like this
Yeah,
is something that
right.
I would say before the game when you like check in the teams is, hey, we're doing all the subs at half field after you get my permission. And the first few weeks are going to be a bit challenging. They'll learn if we all kind of do this the same way. But yeah, if they do that, I mean, it is what it is. You just try to be aware, blow your whistle and say, stop, we're not doing it. If you have, like just kind of read it. Some coaches like don't get it yet, but the more we do this, the more that they coach, the more they'll see how it's supposed to be done.
All right, it sounds like we don't need to be like overly strict about it. Then, yeah.
No, I think especially with like U8 in particular, everyone's still learning. So like all of this U8 and U10 and U12, all of this at rec is mainly a learning experience. So we don't want to draw a hard line in the sand, especially on like substitutions, unless it's like egregious. Like you've told the coach 5 or 6 times and they're not listening. At that point, you can have like a stern conversation with the coach or even give the coach a yellow card, because there's a lot of reasons that this shouldn't happen. It shouldn't get to that point though. If you're all volunteers, they know that, like they shouldn't be testing you like this.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Yeah. So after substitutions, what happens a lot of times at these younger levels is younger ages is a lot of times a coach might sub the whole team. Might change out 7 players, and it's hard to keep track, especially if most of them are off and then they send all the other ones on. So a good habit is to just count how many players are on the field after. A lot of times you can do it in your head if it's like 1 and 1 or 2 and 2, but if it's like 5 or 6 people coming in, I'll just wait for the subs to finish and then literally count all those players before we get started. Because you really don't want to have an extra player on the field. If they want to play down, that's fine, but you don't want to have like 8 players on the field. So it's a good habit to just, after the sub, just make sure you count the players and make sure that there's still the right number, 7 or 9 on the field. Any questions before I jump into the one review question? Okay, yeah, Nick, the game card. So that should be provided by, I think Fred and Sabrina are going to be coordinating the game cards. So you should get those at the beginning of the season. The coaches should have them. And if coaches don't, there might be a good opportunity for the coach to ask that question. I believe we're going to have game cards, but some last year it took a couple weeks for the game cards to get there for rec. Any other questions? All right, our one review question. So what should the referee do before restarting play after each substitution? We can just call this one A and this one B if you're gonna type your answer in the chat. Perfect, yeah. So the answer is count to make sure the number of players on the field is correct. Good stuff. Moving us along quickly. Moving to law 4, and let me just make sure. So we've already talked about the players, the minimum and the maximum, and the substitutions or any stoppage. So law 4, we're going to talk about players' equipment. All right, player equipment. There's really, the notes here say 5, but if you break this down, there's 6 pieces of equipment. You got footwear, shin guards, socks, shorts, shirt, jersey. We got pictures of everything. This is all that they need for their equipment. The ones that I see at your level is sometimes players forget to put their shin guards on, or like a lot of times they have these shin guards that you just throw in under the socks. So that's one that you always want to check for. And then the cleats. The big issue with cleats is if they have the screw-in cleats. Like a lot of times for football, I think they can put different size cleats on there, or if they have like the cleat on the very front, like baseball cleats, because if there's a slide tackle, that top cleat can break someone's leg or can really injure somebody. So those are the two that I would recommend always looking for, shin guards and just the cleats, making sure they're soccer cleats. On your fields, yours are all grass fields. So if people are trying to play in like tennis shoes, that's also pretty unsafe because they can slip pretty easily. So they definitely want cleats, but turf shoes are something I see pretty often, which are okay. But cleats or turf shoes, but not tennis shoes like running shoes, and not like baseball or football cleats. So ultimately, it's the referee's responsibility to make sure all the players are equipped and have all the correct equipment so that they can play safely. Key is to do this during check-in. But if you maybe miss something, or if you notice someone has some unsafe things on, let's say they have like earrings on, you didn't catch that at the beginning of the game, but you see it during the game, you can stop the game on the next stoppage and have that player go off the field and correct their equipment. So like what we talked about earlier, safety is number one. So we want all the players to be safe for themselves, and there's contact in this sport, so we want to make sure everything's safe. Jewelry shouldn't be worn. There's like a caveat for jewelry. If someone has like a medical bracelet, and it's around their wrist or around their neck, they can tape that. And as long as it's taped and it's safe, and like if the tape covers it completely and no one could get like a finger in there, you're fine. But that's the kind of stuff to check during check-in is equipment and safety and things like that. I'm trying to think of what other examples I see a lot of at the younger age group. Rings aren't safe, even the silicone ones. And the reason for that is if somebody gets a finger underneath the ring, it could tear a nail. I've seen that many times. I've seen earrings get pulled out and, blood everywhere. So just those types of things. Necklaces, I've had necklaces break and then people get injured. So all those are typical things that you can catch during the check-in. But those, if you think about the requirements, like there's no jewelry as a requirement. All right, casts are always a question. What a US soccer says is it's up to the referee. What we say at Mustang is no casts. It's too subjective, and we just have a blanket statement. There's no casts. Even if they're wrapped in a bunch of bubble wrap like this, we just have across the board, no casts. All right. Any questions before we jump into the review? I see one here. So fabric casts or splints. So let's talk about this. Fabric casts or splints. If there's metal, I don't allow that. If it's fabric, I'll usually say, like, why do they even have the cast? If it's something broken, probably wouldn't let them play. If they just have like it's sore or something like that, I would say okay. If it's just like wrapped with tape or something, but that wouldn't be considered a cast to me. Does that help a little bit? Okay. All right, a review question. Which of the following are required pieces of equipment that all players must wear? So we're going to do A, B, C, and D. Shoes, shin guards, and socks, shorts, and shirt, or all of the above. Yeah, D, all perfect.
And shirts can be tucked or untucked, right? There's no.
Yeah, good question, Daryl. Here's the deal on shirts. It's what they want to do, but if it's untucked, it's a lot harder for you to see a shirt pull. So if they want to, if they want to get the benefit of If their shirts are tucked in and then all of a sudden you see someone pulling on their shirt and now it's untucked. Hey, look, this guy's shirt was tucked in, now it's not. So you can't argue that there was no pulling of the shirt. That's generally how I do it. And it's better for the shirts to be tucked in, but I wouldn't, draw a hard line in the sand on that. All right. So our goalkeeper is required to wear the same equipment as other players. We didn't cover this, but let's see what the knowledge of this group is like. Seeing some yeses. Okay, so let's chat about this one. So Nick, yeah, I would actually say not even just for U8s. The goalkeepers are not required to wear the same equipment. Let me go back to the equipment slide. So if we look at the equipment slide, I guess this is kind of worded differently. Yeah, Heath, you're on the right track. The shirt needs to be a different color. Socks are generally a different color. Shorts are generally a different color. They can even wear pants. But shin guards and shoes should be the same. Like they have to wear those, but their colors, all the players have to wear the same color of shirt, shorts, and socks. Keepers don't. So that's the difference there. I think that question was a little bit, wasn't worded the best, but that's the point. So keepers are different as far as like the colors they can wear, but they need to wear pretty much the same thing, except they can wear pants and they can wear a hat, those types of things. Our goalkeeper is required to have a different color jersey from the rest of the team. We just talked about that. Are players allowed to wear earrings so long as they're completely taped over? What are your thoughts on this one? No, I'm seeing a couple no's. That's correct. So I'm seeing a yes. Let's talk about this for a second. Why do you, for those of you that put the answer no, why'd you put no? Feel free to come off mute or type it in. Blood.
Yeah, I mean, it can fall off, they'll sweat, the tape can come on. I think it's just easier across the board to just say no jewelry, period.
Yeah, and I've seen many of these earrings get pulled out, even if they're taped over. You will have, especially at this age, you'll have a lot of parents coming up and saying, oh, we just got our daughter's ears pierced. Like, can't we just make an exception? No, like I have a lot of people reach out and I tell them, hey, wait till the end of the season, because this is one, once you see it once, you're like, I never want to see that again. All right, and then who's responsible for ensuring the player's equipment is safe for play? We can go A or B. Good. Yeah, A is the referee. That's all you. All right. So that was law 4, the players. Let's see what kind of notes I put in here for all of you. Players equipment. So I put no jewelry, only medical alert bracelets, no casts, home team wears red. So at the rec level, it's pretty easy because you're either wearing red or white, and home team always wears red. So there shouldn't be any issues on like both teams showing up in white or both teams showing up in red. Home team's always red, visiting team's always white, and then no casts, no jewelry, medical alert bracelets are okay.
I have a question. Are girls allowed to wear like hair clips, hair barrettes? Is that legal?
Yeah, good question, Jerry. So the clips that are on the hair, the ones that are flush with the head, those are fine. You know, like if there's no heading, so that you're not going to have that worry. But the ones that are flushed, if it's those those ones that, hey, I don't even know. I don't know how to describe this. I don't have a daughter, but let me see hair clips. Let me try and, so like these ones, no. These ones are good. These are okay. These types, you know, the ones that have like a pointy part at the top, because just in case they fall, that could really hurt them. But the ones that are flat like this, that's fine. Does that help?
Yep, thanks.
All right. Law 5. Oh, did I already open it? All right. Law 5, the referee. Okay, so ultimately the referee's authority starts when you get to the field. So there's two pieces around your authority. Goes into like powers and duties, and we're going to talk about both of those. So powers are things that you as a referee have the authority to do when you think they're needed. Duties are things that you're required to do. So there's powers, which is what you can do, and duties are what you have to do. We're going to talk about both of those. So powers. So this is what you can do. So you can stop, suspend, or terminate a match due to infringements of the law to the game, of laws to the game. For example, if a player commits a foul, the referee has the authority to stop the match and, you know, give the yellow card if needed, or just give the foul. The referee has the ability to stop the match, stop, suspend, or terminate the match due to outside interference. So let's say you have spectators that run onto the field, you know, and they're uncontrollable. You have the ability to start to terminate the match for that. You have the ability to suspend a match if there's, we're not really going to have this too much, but when I was on the East Coast, we had lightning and thunder. And if you have lightning, you have to suspend a match for 30 minutes. So you have the power to do that. You have the ability to stop the match if a player is injured. So if somebody gets a serious injury, you can easily stop the match. But if you need to call an ambulance or anything like that, you have the ability to stop the match for that. Also, you'll have the ability to allow play to continue until the next stoppage if someone's only a little bit injured, like they fall down and maybe this person's fallen down a lot during the game, and you're like, okay, I know that you just fell down and you need some help getting up, so maybe I don't stop the game immediately, but you can stop it at the next stoppage. So those are all things that you have the power to do, so you can do. It's not like you're required to stop the match when somebody falls down, for example. You also have the power to apply advantage. So if someone could, who knows what advantage is, can you maybe come off mute and try and explain that to the group here?
Sure. So like, let's say I am attacking and I beat my opponent and it's just me going to the goal, but the person who was defending me, you know, tripped me or pulled on me, but I was able to move forward. And I'm gonna score most likely. Instead of whistling it dead, let them move forward, right? And if somehow, you know, like it proceeds further and then, you know, it kind of stops, you can whistle, call it back and give them the penalty at that point, but you want to give them the advantage of moving forward.
Well said. So yeah, I'm just going to reiterate what Heath said. If somebody gets fouled, but they are able to continue playing and it's to their advantage to continue, you don't have to call that foul. You can let them continue. That's what advantage is.
It's like a free play for an offsides in football.
Yeah, exactly. And you could bring it back to Heath's point if it doesn't develop. Like if someone tries to trip them and they don't fall down, but then they take 3 more steps and then they do fall down because they're off balance, then you could bring it back, right? Like, so it's free play, but then Um, also, the referee can take disciplinary action against players who are guilty of cautionable or send-off offenses. So you can do that. And it's kind of interesting with cautions and send-offs. There are requirements, but this is not a duty. It's not like in this situation, you always have to give a yellow card or always have to give a red card. This is something you can do. You don't have to. So that's why it's under powers.
Hey, Justin, another question on advantage. I'm sorry, I don't want to go down
Yeah.
every rabbit hole, just one element of it. So, offensive player, the attacking player, somebody commits a foul against him, he avoids it, he's still moving, but then like he takes a few more steps, he makes some moves, he makes a shot on goal that's just wide. You don't call it back at that point, right? You just let play continue and you choose to not call that foul, or like, is it literally a free play? He can do whatever he wants and you're going to bring it back and call it and give the foul no matter what.
Yeah. So this is a more challenging one because it changes based on the level of play. If you're doing a U8 game, advantage is going to be very different than if you're doing a U19 game, right? But to your point, if they can get their shot off, even though it's not a great shot, they got their shot off. So that's you're not going to bring it back and give them another opportunity to get a shot.
Right. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Another power, so this is something the referee can do, is take actions against coaches who behave irresponsibly. So ask, tell, dismiss. This is the message that US soccer has pushed out for the last 10 years. So if you're having an issue with a coach, for example, you don't go straight to red card. You go up to the coach and you say, Coach, I'm asking you not to have all your subs run on the field every time you say sub. You got to wait for my permission. The next time he does it, Coach, I'm telling you, you can't have your players run on the field. If you do one more time, I'm gonna have to give you a yellow card. Then if he does it again, hey coach, I've told you multiple times, you can't have your players run on the field. Here's your yellow card. And then if he does it again, coach, I've already told you, I've given you a yellow card, you have to leave. So that's kind of the process, is ask, tell, dismiss. And you're probably not going to have this. Generally, I think if you're going to ask a coach, if you get to tell, I feel like they should listen. If not, because you're also, if you're in the center, you're going to be the home team's parent. So you can generally use your personality and you're all adults that they'll listen. If not, you can use the yellow cards, but also if you have to yellow card a coach, call me after the game and we'll have a conversation with the coach. Now, duties, these are things that we must enforce. So the first duty is to enforce the laws of the game. So that's what we're going over, the 17 laws. The second duty is to uphold all the elements of Law 2 and Law 4 specifically. And those are let me go back, I'll go to our cheat sheet here for you. So Law 2 is the ball. So make sure that the ball is safe. And then Law 4 is the safety, the equipment. Those ones we call out specifically because that's the stuff that can injure people. Indicate the correct restart after a stoppage. So if you have a throw in versus a penalty kick, like you should be able to indicate that. And then also keep the time and the record of the game. So you have a clock, generally use a watch, and you'll be able to tell when the game is done. And so you have the official time, and then afterwards you write the official score on the game card. Some other duties is if you see a player with blood, they must leave the field and get that, put a Band-Aid put on, or if it's on the uniform, like the uniform's got to be either changed or sanitized. you have a duty to, if you have like two fouls happen at the same time, like somebody goes in and pushes a player and another one and at the same time the other player is pulling on someone's shirt, you would want to penalize the more serious offense, though the push would get the foul more rather than the shirt pull. Control the game with the help of the referee team. So that's, you know, if there's, let me think of a good example here. If like both coaches are arguing that they want a foul going their way, and you saw it going towards like team A, and team B wants a foul going the other direction, you know, you need to control that. Hey, I had it this way, this is what we're doing. People are going to try to like influence you, but you have to control the game. So act on the advice of the referee team. So if like you have a player in an offside position and your AR calls offside, and you're like, oh, the offside was on the far side, and you know the ball was on the near side, it never went over there. You need to use what you're getting from your referees and work together, but also you need to do what's right for the game. And then also lastly, your duty is to only allow authorized persons on the field. This is a big one because U8, especially if, you know, someone's daughter falls down and gets hurt, that mom or dad is going to want to run on the field. It'll happen. I wouldn't penalize them, but we need to try and break that habit. That's the coach's responsibility to come on once you stop the game and have the coach come on. So only authorized persons on the field. All right, so there's some decisions. We're going to talk about decisions during the course of the game. So the referee has a whistle, as you all know, but there's a couple situations where the whistle is needed and where it's not needed. So you definitely need to blow the whistle on a kickoff. You need to blow the whistle to stop play for a free kick, and you need to blow the whistle to restart after misconduct. So like if there's a red card or yellow card, injury, or there's a substitution, you need to blow the whistle to start play again. You don't need to blow the whistle every time there's a throw in, every time there's a goal kick, every time there's a corner kick. You don't need to blow the whistle for a lot of situations. Just the main ones are up here. This isn't always kickoff. You always need to blow the whistle for that. You always need to blow the whistle to stop the play for a free kick. You can't just say stop, 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 foul, foul, foul. You need to blow the whistle for that. So if anyone's ever done lacrosse, I did lacrosse, they blow the whistle every time the ball goes out, which is crazy. Hopefully that helps on the whistle side. I would also say when you pick up, after this class, you'll be able to pick up some gear that I bought for you guys. I'll give you a shirt, a whistle, and a patch. When you get your whistle, I'd practice blowing on it. Most of the time, people don't blow the whistle loud enough. So practice and get comfortable with the whistle. All right, positioning. Positioning is hard, especially for the levels you're going to ref, and it's something that referees work on for years. So don't expect your positioning to be perfect. Whistle, I see a question here. Whistle on substitution. So yeah, Alan, what I generally do is I give 2 whistles to stop play for a substitution, and then 1 whistle to restart. Always 1 whistle to restart. But that's how you can kind of use your whistle. You can do different things that mean different stuff. Does that
Perfect.
answer?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so positioning. What we generally talk about is the diagonal system of control. I'm going to walk through that, but you know, you're all volunteers, and you know, you can do, I'll give you a couple tricks so you don't have to kill yourselves out there on some of these games. All right, so positioning. This is the diagonal system of control. Ultimately, you're going to have your 1 AR on this side and 1 AR over here. and you're running this diagonal so that you always can have your assistant in your sights. That's the logic behind this diagonal system of control. So I'm going to show you just an example here. So you got one AR in this yellow here, one AR in this yellow, and then you as the referee, this is the diagonal that we're talking about. So over here, you can see all the players and you can see your AR. So if your AR has offside, you can see that, but you can also kind of be looking at the players for fouls. Same thing if you were over here, you'd want to have your AR in your sight, but you'd also be able to see the players in between you and your AR. Now, what I would say with positioning is this top of the 18 to this top of the 18 is generally where you want to be, somewhere in this area. So you don't need to be, I've seen new refs run from all the way over here and just follow play like all over the field. I don't know if you can see my mouse. And they're just working really, really hard. And it's not really getting them much benefit. So you just generally want to go from this top of the 18 over here, this corner, to the top of the 18 over here and stay in that area. Does that help positioning? All right. So we talked about a lot of this, keeping play between the referee and the assistant referee, maintaining distance and improving with more gaming experience. Like I said, referees work on this for years, and it starts clicking after a few years of refereeing. So many of you, this is your first year. I would just focus on like trying to work on that diagonal, but just try and see play. And if you needed to cheat, I would go from maybe over here to over here. This is the one area I'll call out. The top of this little arch. This is like a danger zone. This is where most shots happen. And this is where a lot of times the defense will clear things out and you'll get hit. A lot of times if you're in this little area, you could also get run over or run into by a lot of people in the center circle. So try to avoid those three areas. But besides that, just try to stay from this to this. That's what I would recommend. All right, so management. So there's the team areas. Remember that technical area from half field, about 20 yards. That's the area where all the players should be and the coaches. So coaches and team officials, that's their area in that technical area. It's good if there's team officials. So if there's assistant referees, you know that or assistant coaches, you know they're all in that area. And that way, if you need to ask or tell or dismiss, if you have to dismiss a coach, it's good to know if there's an assistant there. If there's no assistant, game's over. So that's why you always want to know who's in that technical area. So in case you have issues. One thing I put into place for this year is I want teams and parents on the same side. So if I go back to this, this would be a team would maybe be right here, this half, right behind this referee. The parents would be over here. So if there's an issue with parents, you can ask the coach, hey, the parents should only be cheering, but if they're saying things to the other team, you can just say, hey, coach, can you talk to your parents? Versus having both teams on one side and then the parents on the other. Parents can say things and you can't really regulate. So that's kind of the message with the team area. It's always good to just be professional and respectful. You'll get a lot more benefit with just being nice. Everyone's volunteering at rec, so no one's trying to like, these aren't paid coaches that are trying to win every game because it influences their paycheck kind of thing. All right, spectators. So I'm going to talk a little bit about spectators. The rec spectators are a little bit challenging at times. So I think having the coach right there will help, because a lot of times they don't know what to do. Which is why I'm really glad that you're all here learning a lot about refereeing, but the fans and the fans can be a little bit challenging. So they're expected to have a good time and support their teams. They're not allowed or expected to abuse referees or players. And one of the things that our club has is our zero tolerance policy. Our zero tolerance policy pretty much states that if any parent says anything abusive or mean to referees or players, at that point, we can ask the coach to have all the parents leave the field. So I don't think it'll happen, but that is something that we've used it 5 or 6 times and it squashes the behavior. So we have the policy, people should know about the policy, but that's one of our tools to manage spectators. Any questions? I'm going to jump into like referee signals and then some questions, but any questions on this stuff here?
Yeah, just the positioning where, you want the parents to be on the same side of the field as the team, and then the other side of the field is the other team and the other parents, just making sure that the coaches are all aware of that. Because that always feels like at the start of every season, it was always a little bit of a rigmarole trying to figure it out.
Honestly, I think they are, but this is the first year we're doing it.
Yeah, right.
So you might need to let them know before the game, but it's important because if there are issues, it can be addressed. When everyone's on the same side, it's a bit more challenging.
No, I like it.
Yeah. Okay, so we got some signals for the referee that I want to go over. So I'm gonna walk through these in the order listed. I'll try to call out the ones that you're gonna have more often than others. So penalty kick, what a penalty kick signal, he's pointing down, but ultimately he's pointing at the dot. Let me see if he's pointing at this dot. So wherever you're at, you point at that dot and run to that dot if you have a penalty kick. And we have a whole law on penalty kicks, so we'll talk about it, but that's the signal. Advantage has 2 signals you can use. One is just putting your arm out straight and saying advantage. The other is putting both arms out and saying advantage. Either one is fine. So if you have what we talked about earlier, if you have an advantage, you put your arm out and say advantage, and then you could still bring it back after you say that, but at least you're letting the player know, hey, we're going with this, like keep going, don't stop. Indirect free kick, the hand is actually straight up, just like straight up. This is kind of like angled in the picture, but it's straight up. And that's important because if you don't put your hand up, the players won't know that it's indirect and 2 people have to touch it, or one person has to touch it besides him or her. So you have to put your hand up for an indirect free kick. Direct is just, hey, this is the direction we're going. Then you don't have to do anything with your hands after you point. For the indirect, you're holding your hand up pretty much until the second person touches it. So direct free kick, you don't have to do anything with your hand, just point direction. Indirect, you got to hold your hand up until the second person touches it. That way, if your hand's still up and it goes in the goal and nobody else has touched it, you know that it was an indirect and it's not a goal. And we'll talk about direct and indirect more. That's in Law 12, but just the signal. Corner kick, you're pointing to the corner flag, so it's 90 degree. And goal kick is like just straight ahead at the goal. Yellow and red cards, you just hold the card up straight. But these are some signals. The one you're going to have the most is probably direct free kick. You'll also have, I would say the second most would be goal kicks and corner kicks. So those 3, if you just want to think about those 3 signals, that's it. And then the 4th one would be an indirect. Okay. All right, some review questions. Do the laws of the game provide referees with certain powers and duties? Good. Yeah, yes. Can the referee stop the game if a player is injured? Perfect. What should the referee do if a player is seriously injured? Yeah, perfect. Stop play. B, yeah. Yeah, so stop the game immediately. You'll see this a lot of times at the 13s, 14s, 15s level. Well, you'll hear like a crazy whistle because there might be a head injury and you're stopping the game no matter what, even if somebody was about to score. You generally, you want to err on the side of safety. So if there's a serious injury, stop play no matter what. Do referees have the authority to deal with coaches and other team officials who behave in an irresponsible manner? Yep, good. Yes. What position should the referee work to maintain during the game? So A is one that will allow him or her to make the correct decision, one that allows him or her to keep in front of the play. Good. A, yeah. And lastly, what's the referee's primary responsibility? Making sure the game is safe for all players or making sure the players have fun? Good. Seeing A's and safe. Awesome. So we're at about an hour and 20 minutes. Let's get through 6, 7, 8. The next few are pretty quick. Let's get through 10. I'm going to run through these and then we'll take a little break before we jump into offside. Okay. So other match officials. This is pretty much focused on the assistant referee. So the assistant referee is calling mainly two things when the ball goes out of play. So that's one that I kind of want to focus on real quick. If this is the field and this is outside of the field, you can see that the reason that the AR is on the line is because the line is a whole plane. So if you're looking at it from 10 yards away, it's hard to tell if the ball crossed that plane. So you can see here, A is in play, B is still good, C is still good, D is out of play. So this is the one that a lot of people don't understand. Like the whole ball, the whole ball has to cross the line for it to be out. If part of it is still on that plane, it's good. Does that make sense, everybody? All right. Well, if not, let me know because I can't see your faces. But the assistant referees can also help signal if there's misconduct or other events outside of the view of the referee. So like if a parent is saying something inappropriate, assistant referee can let the referee know on the next stoppage by putting their flag up and saying, hey, come over here, or even just putting their hand up. Indicate goalkeeper encroachment. So if there's a penalty kick and the keeper comes off the line too early or makes like 3 steps off before the kick is taken, that's something that the assistant referee can do. And then lastly, the assistant referees can signal an offense when the assistant referee has a better view. So if for like offside, the assistant referee will make that call because they have a better view than the referee. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the assistant referee signals. So here's some of the signals. Sub is they put the flag straight up and hold their hands on both sides of the flag, not the actual flag, but the post. Throw-ins, they'll signal what way it's going to be thrown in, like not who kicked it out, but who's going to be throwing. Corner kick is the opposite. The referee's pointing like this. The assistant referee is like pointing down towards the flag. Goal kick is just like the center referee. It's just straight out. Offside is just the flag straight up. And then after, the referee blows the whistle for offside, because the AR has their flag up. Then the AR would point like this, like middle or down, kind of like what you're seeing here, as far as where on the field it was. So this is like, it was on the far side of the field. This is in the middle of the field, and this is really close to the AR. So those are just some signals. You all may not have flags for your assistant referees, so they can just use their hand. Like if they have offside, just put their hand up and kind of point. All right. So assistant referee positioning. So if you're going to be the assistant referee, you want to be even with the second to last defender the whole game. That's pretty much where you're going to be. Even with the second to last the whole time. The only caveat is if the ball is closer to the goal than the second to last defender, you follow the ball. Let me know if I need to repeat that. So you're pretty much second to last defender, except if the ball's closer. Does that make sense to everybody? Let me know if it doesn't, and I can explain it a little bit more. All right. So remember we talked about the positioning for the center referee. Positioning for the AR is pretty much just the half of the field that they're on. All right, and then we talked about it, but stay in position with the second to last, maintain focus, use the right signals, and this will all improve the more games you do. The one thing that I will say is with teams on each side, each AR is going to have pretty much their coach, like their kid's coach that they're working with. So hopefully that would help de-escalate if they're saying, hey coach, come on, things are getting a little bit crazy. That's kind of the goal. The AR can say stuff and remain professional. And remember, this was made for referees that were going to be grade 9 officials. You're all going to be knowing the coach. So it's not going to be, I don't think the management would be that crazy. This has just 2 quick questions. So which of the following should the assistant referee indicate? When the ball has left the field of play, when a player should be penalized for an offside offense, when a substitution has been requested, or all of the above? D, yes, good. Robert, you had a question here around the second to last defender. So the second to last is usually, the reason we say that is because the goalie is usually the last defender. And then the second to last is like the center back. It could change, like if they pull the keeper and the keeper's going to score, like going to be an attacker while they're the keeper, then it would be the second to last defender. But generally it's always going to be not the keeper, but the next player back. All right, what position should the assistant referee maintain in order to judge offside? So A with even with the referee or even with the second to last defender? All right, so seeing a couple B's, good. Okay, so that was law 6. We go to 7. And these are quick ones. So game length is for U8 to U10 is 25-minute halves, U11, U12, 30. Let me just show you, I put that in the cheat sheet here. So referee, grade 9, other match officials, grade 9. This law 7 is 25 with a 5-minute halftime, 25s for like what's on the screen. And then when you get to U11 and U12, it's 30 minutes. U11 comp is a 10-minute halftime, but U12 rec is 5. So a little bit about keeping time. So time doesn't start when you blow the whistle, like for the kickoff. Time starts pretty much when they kick the ball. Okay, so that's a little distinction. That's something you can kind of tell your friends that you know, and I don't think it's really going to apply because pretty much you're going to blow your whistle and kids are going to kick the ball. Time doesn't stop until half is over. So you don't stop the clock ever. Added time, you can add time at the end of each half. Our games are so tight together that we don't really have time for added time. So pretty much once you start the clock, 25 or 30 minutes later, you stop it. And then you do the same thing the second half. The one call out I want to make is our games are pretty tight. So we always want the game to end minimum of 5 minutes before the next game. So I can share with you all like the schedule, and then you should be able to know when the next game starts. So if you're running behind, like each game shouldn't push the next few back. So always want to finish 5 minutes before the next game starts.
So Justin, if the game you're walking into is already starting late, you just have a conversation with the coaches and be like, look, we're going to do 20-minute halves, or, you know,
Yeah.
you like take the responsibility to get back on schedule.
Yeah. And if you can, I think that's the best way to do it. If you know that going into it. If not, like you see the next crew get there as you're about to start your second half, you're like, hey, what time's your game start? Then you just let the coaches know, hey, we have to finish at this time. So, but yeah, if you know before the game even starts, just cut both halves. All right. So we talked about added time. For rec, like we talked about, we want to keep the games on time. Weather. So we talked a little bit about this, but if the field has puddles like this, let us know. And you know, if it's unsafe, if you think it's unsafe, it probably is. I generally use the rule of thumb is if you kick the ball and it doesn't move, it's unsafe. So it's hard to think about that right now in August, but towards the end of the season, we might have some situations. Lightning, we talked about that earlier. We're not going to have that, but if there was, you have to delay for 30 minutes. Like if you can see lightning, you need to delay the game. Let's run through these. So who's responsible for keeping the time of the game? The referee or volunteer timekeeper? Good. The game is continual, which means the referee never or constantly stops time of his or her watch until the time of each half or period of play has been played. Yeah, never. Good. Should the referee stop play if the weather conditions make the game unsafe? Perfect. Yep. Good stuff. So that was law 7. Let's see if I have my notes here. We talked about the times. Okay, so let's go. How are we all doing? Should we take a break, or do you think we can power through this one? This is about 14 slides. Okay, cool. So the start and restart of play, law 8. So when you do a coin toss at the beginning, yeah, Nick, same here. So you do a coin toss, and what happens on the coin toss is the winner of the coin toss gets to choose which goal they want to attack or kick off. Okay, so they can choose one or the other. And then the second half, you know, like if one team chooses to a goal to attack, the other gets kickoff. If one team chooses kickoff, the other team gets to choose which goal to attack. And then they switch at halftime. So requirements for the beginning of the game is all players are on their own half. All opponents are at least 10 yards away from the ball, except for the team kicking it, of course. And then the ball is stationary on the center mark. The referee blows their whistle. The ball is in play once it is kicked and clearly moves. So Remember the days where we had to wait for the ball to have one full circular rotation? They only have to touch the ball and it has to move. That's all it is nowadays. And then the ball can be kicked backwards. The kicker can't touch the ball again until it's touched by another player, so they can't touch it twice. Any questions on this part?
If they touch it twice, is that an indirect free kick?
Yep.
Other team?
Yeah. Good job. And we'll talk about indirects on law 12. This is one that everybody has a question on. So a goal can be scored directly against an opponent from the kickoff. Let me repeat that one. That's a big one. You can score a goal directly from the kickoff. Everyone clear on this one?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So second touch, Alan already explained this one. So if the kicker touches it twice, you restart with an indirect for the opposing team. If there's another violation, you stop play and you retake the kick. So if like the team can't figure out who's taking the kick, this has happened a few times. They're all trying to figure it out. You just kind of let them, you know, like, or you can blow the whistle and have them retry. But a lot of times they're just trying to figure it out. There aren't really, I haven't seen very many infringements of that. Drop ball. So we're going to talk drop ball because this is around the start and restart of play. So drop balls are now ceremonial. Back in the day, it was you put a drop ball and two players had to kick against each other. So now whatever team had possession of the ball is the team that gets the drop ball. So the drop ball gets pretty much just given to that person. So if the ball like went flat as they were dribbling, you stop play, get a new ball, and just drop the ball for that player to kick. So the ball is dropped at a position it was when the play was stopped. Ball is in play once it touches the ground, and all other players must be 4 yards away. So this is one of those unique ones where it's not 10 yards away. Players just need to be 4 yards away. And a lot of times what you'll see is if there's a drop ball that is going to the keeper can just pick it up. So that's if they're in their penalty area, but a lot of times you'll just drop the ball to the keeper if something happened right in the penalty area, like I don't know, someone threw something on the field by accident, or the ball hit a tree that was hanging over the goal that was on the field. A lot of times that might happen. There might be a tree over a goal. You can just drop it and the keeper can pick it up if it's in the penalty area. So here's some situations where you might need to repeat a drop ball. So the ball touched by the player before it made contact with the ground. So if a player kicks the ball as you're dropping it, or the ball leaves the field without being touched by a player. So if some of the fields might be a little slanted and you drop the ball and it goes out over the touchline, then you can repeat the drop ball. Also, if the ball enters the goal directly, then like if somebody kicks the ball, not if they kick it, it's if they kick it, they can hang on. I might not even know this one. Okay, so yeah, I guess it is kind of like an indirect. If the drop ball is kicked into the goal, then it becomes a goal kick. It's just like it went over the goal line by the attacking team. It's a goal kick. If it's a drop ball and they kick it into their own goal, it'd be a corner kick. So it's like the goal doesn't even exist. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm going to assume that's a yes. Okay, so there's a caveat. If the ball hits the referee and causes the ball to be turned over, the team that passed the ball is awarded the drop ball. So if team A kicks the ball, it hits the referee, and then it goes to team B. At that point, the referee, you need to stop play and do a drop ball for team A. Because you made the transition happen. So concussion initiative. I have some notes in that one pager, but ultimately US soccer doesn't want anyone who's 10 years old heading the ball, 10 years or younger. So ultimately, let me show you the one pager. So I even put a whole row for heading. So U8, U9, no heading up until I think it's U12. So no unless age pure. So U12, they can start heading if that under 12 team is all 11-year-olds. But if there's 10 and 11-year-olds, there's no heading on that game at all. Does that make sense? So if there's even one 10-year-old on the field, there's no heading on that game. So if there was a header, if somebody does head the ball, the restart is an indirect free kick from wherever that header happened. And if it's within the goal area, that small box, not the penalty area, I'll tell you, I'll explain what happens on that a little bit later, but it's not at the spot, it's just moved out a little bit. All right, we've got 2 questions. So the winner of the coin toss gets what of the following, A, B, or C? If it's an inadvertent head, nothing happens. So whoever wins the coin toss gets the choice of which side to attack in the first half or choice of kickoff. Good, everyone got C. During the kickoff, do both teams have to be on their half of the field until the ball is in play? Perfect. Yep. Yes. Good job. All right. Law 9. Ball in and out of play. And we've already kind of talked a little bit about this. So we got boundary lines, but you can kind of see here that in and out of play graphic that I put earlier. Same thing on the goal line versus the touch line. And let me put this up, make sure I'm not missing anything. So this also applies when the ball is in the air. So remember, this is a plane. I've seen a lot of times on like even corner kicks where someone tries to kick the ball, it goes out of the field and then comes back in. So that would, if it goes out, it's out. But that's why you're right on the line when you make those calls. All right. So rebounds, couple things that we should talk about with rebounds, and this is a good graphic. The goalposts, those are part of the field. So if the ball hits the goalpost, it's still in. If the ball hits the corner flag, that's part of the field. So it can hit the corner flag and the corner flag can bring it back into the field or like bounce it back in. If that's fine. The referee is part of the field. So if it hits the referee, it's still in. Those are all things to be aware of when we talk about like rebounds. So that's it for the ball in and out of play. So I got a couple call outs here. Does the entire ball or just part of the ball have to cross the boundary line in order for it to be considered out of play? A or B, entire or part? Good. Is the ball still considered in play when the referee blows his or her whistle? Ball still considered in play when the referee blows his or her whistle? No. Yeah, good. That was ball in and out of play. Quick one. All right, determining the outcome of a match. This is another very quick one. So this has to do with scoring a goal. And it's the same sort of thing we just talked about. But remember, the post is part of the field. So this is no goal, no goal. This one, even though most of the ball is across the line, this much is still on the line. So it's still a no goal. It's still in the field. This one's a goal. The whole ball has to cross. So a couple exceptions. So you can't score directly from an indirect free kick, which is why you hold your hand up until that second player touches it. So if your hand's up, the second player hasn't touched it. Any free kick into the kicking team's goal. So if someone's taking a kick and they kick it backwards into their own goal, that's not a goal. You can't score directly from a throw-in, and you can't score directly from a drop ball. All right, here's our review question. So what must happen for a legal goal to be scored? The ball must completely cross the goal line between the goalpost and under the crossbar, or the ball must make contact with the goal net. A or B? Seeing some A's. Yeah, yeah. And remember, not everyone has a net, so that doesn't really help. Okay, that's law 10. Let me just kind of look at this. So we got duration, law 8, goal can be scored from a kickoff. Law 9 and 10. The next two are pretty heavy. So let's take a 5-10 minute. I have 7:47. Let's come back at like 7:55 and we'll jump into the rest and then we'll wrap up. 4, 5, okay. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and get us going again. We're gonna talk about offside. Just as we get started, I want to ground us. I put some notes for our local rules in this spreadsheet here. So U8, we don't have offside in U8. U9 and 10 we do, and U12 we do. Okay, so if you're coaching U8, this isn't relevant, but yeah, so you could tune out or just pay attention because it's going to happen in the next year or two, you know, as your kids get older. All right, so offside. This, I will say, from I've been a ref for 25 years, and every other year when they update the laws, there's always a slight tweak to offside. Oh, sorry, there were some questions in the chat here. Let me answer those. Yeah, Nick, this is the only prereq for becoming a grade 9 referee. Yeah, you can have parents watch this online. We ask that each team has 2 parents, minimum of 2, that get grade 9 certified, each team. Yeah, you mainly just have to make sure you have people available on the game days. This isn't like something you have to do to other games that your kids aren't playing in. All right. So offside. So there's positioning that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to actually talk about what offside is. So offside position is when you're closer to the opponent's goal than the ball and the second to last opponent. And it's not an offense to be in an offside position. Okay, so just because you're in that position doesn't mean you're going to get penalized for anything. It's not like we would call offside right when they pass the second to last, and you know that's not how it works. You're not offside in your own half. You're not offside if you're level with the second to last defender or opponent, and you're not offside if you're level with the last 2 opponents. You are offside. You are penalized if you're in an offside position. This is the key one. If you're in the offside position at the moment the ball touches or is played by a teammate, and you become active in play, become involved in active play. So those are the three requirements. You're in an offside position, your teammate passes you the ball, and you're involved in active play. We're going to break down what active play actually means. But here's a couple diagrams. So this is the defending team, these pink, purple players. This is the second to last defender. So we're drawing an invisible line, and you can tell that the attacker is past the second to last defender. When their teammate passes them the ball, that's an offense. That's meets all the qualifications, right? They're in an offside position, their teammate passing them the ball, they're involved in active play because they're actually playing the ball. So this one's not an offense, right? So both players are right here. When the pass is made, this player runs up and gets the ball in an offside position. But when the pass was made, they were not in an offside position. Is that clear? Is that confusing to anybody? Okay, so active play. Active play means interfering with play, interfering with an opponent, or gaining an advantage. So we're going to see some little diagrams of active play. So interfering with play is defined as playing or touching a ball passed by a teammate. So when this ball is passed, when they touch the ball, a lot of times that's what it is. When they touch the ball, that's when the offside actually happens. So that's interfering with play. Interfering with an opponent. Now, this is the one where it gets a little tricky. So this player is in an offside position, and they're interfering with the keeper. Like the keeper can't see around them. They're blocking the keeper's vision. And then their player takes a shot, and it goes like right next to the player in that offside position, but he doesn't touch the ball. He's just blocking the keeper's visibility. That's interfering with an opponent because the keeper can't see. And this is one where I'm sure we'll have a question about, but this one is at your games. If you can see that the keeper's like trying to see around the player, but they can't, and their visibility is hindered. Can you all still okay? That and they were in an offside position, I would call that as an offside. So this is one where it's gaining an advantage. This player has the ball. This player is in front of the ball and the second to last defender. So this player's in an offside position. This player takes a shot. It hits the crossbar, comes back. When this player took the shot, this player was in an offside position. And even though he wasn't necessarily passing it, it ended up being a pass to his teammate. So this is an offside. Because this is part of the field, remember? Here's a couple situations where there's no offense. So like this player is taking a corner kick, and here's the keeper, and here's the second to last defender. This player's in an offside position, and they head the ball in. So they're offside, right? If we look at all the requirements, offside position, pass by a teammate, and interfering with play, like they touch the ball. But since it's from a corner kick, you can't be offside on a corner kick. Same thing with the throw-in. You can't be offside on a throw-in. So that's okay. Both of these are okay. Any questions on that? Offside is kind of a challenging one. Okay. The build outline. So I'm going to go back to our little spreadsheet here. So build outline. Pretty much every age group is using the build outline until you get to U12, under 12. Under 12 is when we don't stop using the build outline. So if you have U8, U9, or U8 and U10, you're going to have the build outline. So we talked about it like where it is, but ultimately the only time that you can be offside is between the build out line and the goal line. Okay, so I'm gonna show a little video. I like this little kid because he's young, but he covers this information pretty well. I have this also on that grade 9 page. So let me put this up here.
Hi, I'm Andrew Smith, the teaching ref. Today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about build-out lines, which are used in U9 and U10 games. The build-out line is a line drawn on the field halfway between the top of the penalty area and the center line. If your field doesn't have a build-out line, that's okay. You can use a penny, a towel, or even a cone to mark the line. If you use cones though, make sure it's not that long and skinny type that can hurt someone if they fall on it. Also, whatever you use, make sure it's off the pitch so it doesn't interfere with play. There are 2 times when the build-out line comes into play. The first is when the goalie has the ball in hand. When this happens, the attacking team must retreat behind the build-out line and the goalie is entitled to wait until they do. The second is goal kicks. Once again, as soon as the goal kick is called, the attacking team must retreat behind the build-out line and the person taking the kick doesn't have to take it until that happens. If the team in possession decides to play the ball before the attacking team retreats behind the build-out line, that's okay. Don't stop play because the team in possession plays the ball too quickly. They can do so, but only at their own risk. If a player fails to go back behind the build-out line, you have options. You should probably just give a lot of instruction because it's a new rule and nobody really understands it. The last resort is pulling out a card and cautioning the coach or the player. But if you do that, make sure you give a lot of warnings before, because no one really wants to see a caution in this type of game. Punting and drop kicking is not allowed. If you see it, blow your whistle and award an indirect free kick to the other team. The whole point of the build-out line is to make the goalies throw it, roll it, or pass it out with their feet to a defender so they can learn to build out the back. If a goalkeeper punts the ball inside of his goal area, the indirect free kick goes on the edge of the goal area closest to where the infringement happened. The offside law has also changed with the build-out line. Before, a player could not be in an offside position if they are on their own half. Now, a player cannot be in an offside position unless they have crossed the attacking build-out line. Of course, the other requirements of offside must be present, including they have to be in front of the ball, they have to be behind the second to last defender, and now they have to cross the attacking build-out line. Remember, there are only 2 reasons why the attacking team has to retreat behind the build-out line: when the keeper has the ball in hand and goal kicks. Don't use it for any other restarts, including drop balls, offside, free kicks, indirect free kicks, throw-ins, or anything like that. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comment down in the comment section below.
All right, so I thought that was pretty good. I mean, it's pretty thorough. Let me where was I? So he talked about punting. Punting's another one. So when we do have the build out line, there's no punting until we get into this age group here and this age group. So at U12 is when there's no build out line and there is punting. So like he said, we have the build out line, and if there was punting and a build out line, it's kind of counterintuitive, right? The whole goal is for people to build it out. Does that make sense? Is everyone following, tracking?
Hey, Justin, I just have a clarification question.
Yeah.
So the goalie, it's a goal kick, or a goalie has the ball. Opposing team has to go back beyond the build out line. At what point can the opposing team come back across the build out line? Because last year we had teams like, as soon as the goalie kicked it out or threw it out, they were crashing in. And so there's a little inconsistency in like how that was played.
Yeah. So technically they can. Right after the keeper, if it, in the 2 situations, right? If it's ball in hand, right when the keeper throws the ball to a teammate to start building it out, that's when you can crash the build out line. That's when you can cross the build out line. You know, I think at the rec level, I would hope that people aren't doing that often, but technically that's okay.
Got it.
With a goal kick, it's the same sort of thing. Right when they kick the ball, the first time they kick the ball, that's when they can cross the build out line. All right, some review questions. So to be in an offside position, a player must be which of the following? Nearest the opponent's goal line, nearest to the opponent's goal line than the ball, nearest to the opponent's goal line than the second to last defender, in the opponent's half of the field, or all of the above. Yep. Or wait, I'm seeing B. So this one's actually D. So you got to be near the, or in order to be offside, you got to be past the second to last defender or the ball. So that's like, this one's the second to last defender. This one's the ball, and then in the opponent's half of the field. So all of the above. Any questions that on this that you want to have a conversation about?
Hey, what is near to the opponent's goal line than the ball? Like, what, can you just show me what that would look like? I don't
Yeah,
get that.
so here's the goal line. It's the one where the goal is on the goal line, and then this one's the touch line. So if we have, let me see if I have let me get a better one of these. I think it was the referee had a good one. Okay, so like here, right, we have the goal line, and let's say, and these are all the defenders in yellow, and this is the attackers in blue. Let's say that there was an attacker here. That attacker would be in an offside position. So that would be, let's go to this. So nearest to the opponent's goal line. This is all worded weird. So ultimately, if the ball is here and the player, let me simplify this. If I don't have a good diagram. So if a player in an offside, if player is past the second to last defender, that's this one, or they're past the ball. Let's say this situation, there was one example here with the ball. So right here, this player had the ball, and this player was in front of the ball. If they were even with they were past both second to last defenders, but they were even with the ball, they'd be fine. So that's what this one's saying is like, you have to be past the second to last defender and past the ball. Like if you have two players that are past the second to last defender, but they're even, that's okay. And then you also have to be in the opponent's half of the field. So that's ultimately what they're saying is like this situation where they're both past the second to last defender. Okay, Heath, thank you. Good. All right, this one. Should a player always be penalized for being in an offside position? No, good. Does a player have to be in an offside position and involved in active play to be punished for an offside offense? Yeah, good. And then the last one, a player cannot be punished for being offside if he or she receives the ball directly from which of the following? So corner kick, goal kick, or throw in, or all of the above. Yeah, this one's all of the above. So you can't be offside. Pretty much if the ball goes out, like if the ball goes over the touchline or the goal line, that restart, you can't be offside. Good. So that's law 9. Offside. So we talked about, U8, no offside, but U10 and U12, yes. All right, foul.
Sort of a question on the offside. Is it, do you ever stop play because of the offside, or is it only for stopping a awarding of a goal?
Yeah. Okay. So good question. Yes, you stop play for an offside. So if let's say there's offside and it ends up a goal kick, right? Like they take a shot and they don't make make a goal. Let me bring up the field again. So let's say somebody takes a shot from in or out. Okay. So a goal kick's going to be taken from right here, right in this box. But let's say there's an offside that happens right here, and they take a shot and it goes wide or whatever. It's better position for them to take the offside than the goal kick. You know, they get that farther up for the defense. So yes, there could definitely be an offside call where it doesn't end up in a goal, and it's beneficial for them to get that offside call and like restart with it.
Hey, Justin, one quick clarification. So it said that if I am the goalie and I'm kicking a goal kick and I'm kicking to my team, and let's say my teammate is beyond the second to last person, that last quiz question said that they would still not be considered offsides. Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh, on a goal kick?
Yeah.
So you're saying like you're taking a goal kick from here, but on the other side of the field, the attacker is past the second to last defender.
Yeah, like defenders here, but my teammates here. I kick the ball.
Yeah.
Person's not considered offsides.
Correct.
Okay.
Good distinction. I didn't know you could draw on this. Not a Zoom super user. So any other questions? Offside's a kind of a tricky one. Okay. So fouls and misconduct. This is the one that we can get into a lot of detail. So I'll go through it, and I like how this is designed because it simplifies a lot of this stuff. So I'll walk through it, ask questions along the way, but after this, the rest of it's pretty quick. So fouls are committed by a player. So you can't have a foul committed by a substitute. They're against the opposing team. They're on the field of play, and they're while the ball is in play. So I've had a lot of situations where there's, the ball goes out and the two players are kind of going at it and kick each other, but the ball's already gone out. You can't necessarily call a foul because the ball's not in play. So there's two types of foul. There's direct and indirect. Direct goals can be scored directly. Indirect, the ball must touch another player. And we've talked about this already, so I think a lot of you know this difference. So we're going to talk about direct free kicks first. And ultimately, there's 10 direct free kick fouls. We're going to talk about the first 7, and then we're going to talk about the second 3. The first 7 are fouls that have a different level of force. So it could be careless, reckless, or excessive, and that'll change whether there's a card involved. So as we go through this, I'll come back to that, but those are key words: careless, reckless, and excessive force. And those apply to the first 7 direct free kicks that we're going to talk about. The other 3 don't have the careless, reckless, or excessive force. Okay, so even if you've been playing for a long time, that might be new to you about those terminologies and how it's used. So that's something that is important related to misconduct in cards. So kicking is a direct free kick foul. A lot of these direct free kick fouls are when there's contact player to player. A lot of the indirect are more violations of the laws. Okay, so kicking, tripping, jumping, charging, and striking. Sorry, there's two more. And pushing and then tackling. So those are all direct free kicks. Those are all contact with the body. Did I miss Christian? Did I answer your question about the build outline with the scenario? I think I might have moved on a little
Yeah, no
quickly.
worries. The question was relating to once the offsides is called and the say the goalie's taking the kick, does everyone need to retreat past the build out line, or is it just normal free play at that point?
For offside, there's no build
Yeah.
outline.
No build out line? Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep. What about shirt pulling? So that one's down here in the next set. So the 7 that we're talking about are here. So let me go through them one time real quick. Kicking, tripping, jumping, charging, striking, pushing, tackling. Those are all the 7 of the 10 that have to do with these careless, reckless, or excessive force. So careless, if we have like a trip that's just careless, like by accident, it's still a foul, but there's no card. Careless is just foul. Reckless is a yellow card. So reckless means like that person was just playing dangerously. They had no consideration, but it wasn't like egregious. So somebody like tripped somebody, like they meant to trip them, but they didn't like try to hurt them. They were trying to get the ball, but they missed the ball and just completely got the player. Like that would probably be careless or reckless depending on how hard it was. But that would be like a yellow card. And then excessive force is like somebody's running as fast as they can and they run and slide and get like slide and trip trip somebody maybe from the back on the back of their calf where they don't have any protection. That's excessive force. That would be like a red card. And that's rare, especially at your level. You're probably not going to have any of these excessive. You probably won't even have reckless. But those are the different terms like careless, reckless, excessive force that if you ever did have a card, because that's the terminology you would use. All
Hey,
right.
Justin, is it a change this year that we're given yellow cards at all or red cards? Because I thought I remember last year we were saying that we don't give yellow cards at this level.
No, you could definitely give cards. It's rare. It's rare on a rec U8 or U10 game to have a card. But you can. You can if you need to. A lot of times at U8 and U10, you saying something is going to change the behavior. You don't need a yellow card to do that. But technically you can, because we want all the kids to learn that there are cards and you can get them. So
Okay,
yeah.
good to know. Thanks.
So the other 3 direct free kick situations, but they don't have careless, reckless, or excessive force, are holding, like pulling a shirt, spitting, and deliberate handling. So if like hopefully that's all pretty clear, but like it's not specific against an opponent, so like that one is pretty easy, but this is spitting is extreme, right? Like that's generally a red card. Someone spits on somebody. And then holding is it's a direct free kick. It's not anything more. Any questions on direct free kicks? Okay, moving on to indirect. So indirect free kicks, there's 8 situations for indirect free kicks. 4 of them are committed by field players, and 4 of them are committed by keepers. Okay, so that's how this is broken down. The 4 by field players are dangerous play. So dangerous plays are high kicking. This is a common one. Or heading the ball like really low where someone's head can get kicked. Those are dangerous situations. And you generally call that, and it's an indirect free kick. Impeding. Does anyone know what impeding is? Okay.
It's when you're stopping someone else from making the play. Like if the ball's about to go out and the guy's trying to stop it from going out, you just block him from like stopping it from going out.
Yeah, good, Alex. Yeah, nice job. The key with impeding is, the challenge I always see with impeding is there's shielding. You're shielding the ball. That's totally fine. Impeding is when the ball is not playing distance. Like you're just stopping somebody from running, but the ball's not even close. So that's the difference. If the ball is playing distance, it's not impeding. But if there's no ball, like they can't play the ball, that's impeding. And that's an indirect free kick. And to Alex's point, this happens a lot as like the ball's about to go over the goal line and someone's going to get a goal kick and the attacking team wants to keep playing it. That's when you'll see impeding. Preventing. So this one's like a player preventing the keeper from kicking the ball or releasing the ball. That's an indirect free kick. And then just some other offenses are like, you're not letting someone play the ball. It's not just the keeper. You're not going to let somebody take the ball for a throw in. You're not going to let, that's what this image is. You're not going to let somebody kick a free kick. You're just standing there, not going to, those are other offenses that you can give an indirect free kick for. And then the 4 for keepers. So there's the 6-second rule. I think we all might know that, but the keeper has 6 seconds to get rid of the ball. Now with the build out line, that 6 seconds only starts after everybody on the attacking team has gotten behind the build out line. This would be an indirect free kick. So the keeper has the ball in their hands. They put the ball down on the ground like they're about to kick it, and then they pick it up again. That's an indirect free kick. So they release it and then pick it up again. If a teammate kicks the ball back to a keeper and the keeper picks it up, that's an indirect free kick. And then also if their own team throws the ball to the keeper and the keeper picks it up with their hands, that's an indirect free kick. So those are the 4 indirect free kicks that a keeper makes. Any questions about direct and indirect? Do any of these have warnings? Yes. I would say you call the foul, like if it happens, but I would always give warnings if somebody's on the verge of a yellow card. Like I don't think you would give a warning. Like if somebody trips somebody, I wouldn't give necessarily a warning. Hey, you tripped them, just call the foul. But then if you give warnings more if there's like a misconduct. Where do you spot the free kick? Yeah, so like in this situation, you would spot the free kick where the keeper picked up the ball. It's generally where the infraction occurred. So the direct ones are pretty easy. They're direct free kicks. Like where did the push happen? Where did the kick or trip happen? Where did the holding happen? The indirect ones can be a little bit more challenging on placement. Like if this situation happened where they wouldn't give the ball to the team, it's where they kind of planted their feet. What if the infraction's in the penalty area? Let's talk about that now. Let me find a, I'm gonna find a good image. Okay, so let me, can y'all see this or do you want me to make it bigger? I'm gonna assume you can see it. So if it happens in the penalty area, it's a penalty kick if it was direct. And we're gonna talk about that in the penalty area. There's a penalty law. If it happens in the goal box, this is the one I want to talk about. Let's say there's a free kick, like you pass back to the keeper right here. Keeper picks it up. You're not gonna do, let me make this bigger for you. So in here, pass back, the keeper picks it up with his hands, his or her hands right here. You're not going to actually give the free kick right there. You're going to move it to the top of this goal box. And then at that point, the whole team will generally line up on the goal line, right in the goal. It's a very hard shot, but that's what you would do for a free kick, an indirect free kick in this area. Otherwise, if it's in the penalty area and it's an indirect, it's just wherever it was. If it's a direct free kick anywhere in here, it's a PK. Make sense? Okay. So misconduct. This is the other part that we could spend a lot of time on, but I think it's pretty simple in here. Misconduct is yellow and red cards. So yellow card, here's all the situations for a yellow card. Unsporting behavior, dissent, persistent infringement, delaying the restart, failure to respect the required distance, entering or re-entering without permission, and deliberately leaving without permission. So let me just talk through each one of these so they're all somewhat clear. I'm going to work my way up from the bottom. So deliberately leaving the field without permission. This is where we were talking about like subs, for example. And if like coaches are sending people on or people are coming off and like people just walk away, for example, like they don't want to play anymore, you could give a yellow card for that. This is the one where if the coach is pushing his players onto the field without your permission, this is the reason why you can give them a yellow card. It's right here. Failure to respect the required distance. So if there's a free kick and somebody asks for 10, or they're not, like a player's not even trying to guess on what 10 yards is, you can give a yellow card for that. Delaying the restart. So if somebody's just, you're marking off 10 and they're not listening, for example, that's delaying the restart. So these ones that I talked about, the only one that you're probably going to see is entering or re-entering without permission. If you even have that, you can probably just talk to the coach and resolve it. These three are probably the most common that I see in games. So persistent infringement is if a player commits like 4 or 5 fouls in a row, or a team fouls the same person 4 or 5 times in a row really quickly. That's persistent infringement. Dissent is if somebody is saying bad things to you, or just completely not respectful. That's dissent. And then unsporting behavior is what we talked about with the fouls, with reckless. That's unsporting behavior. And unsporting behavior is kind of the catch-all. So if you ever have a yellow card and you're not sure what it is, it's probably unsporting behavior. Any questions on these? As I mentioned, you're probably not going to have any of these, but it's good to know that this is all like in the book. So if you do have issues, this is what will give you the justification to give a yellow card. Red card, highly doubt that you're going to have any of these, but I'll just walk through them. So serious foul play. Serious foul play is when you have excessive force that would be either serious foul play or violent conduct. Violent conduct is like fighting. Abusive language. So the difference between dissent and abusive language is abusive language usually involves the F word. Or it's like, or it's involving some type of racism. That's abusive language. Spitting is a direct free kick, but it's also a red card. And then denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity. Those are red cards. You probably, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but this is something where you could have a red card in your games if there's a lot of requirements, but odds are I don't really want you giving a red card for dogzo in your games. We call it dogzo for deny obvious goal scoring opportunity. It's just an acronym that we use. And then also the last one is if somebody gets 2 yellow cards, that's a red card. So those are that's misconduct. And there's a lot of stuff on this, but we just have 2 slides on it. So try to simplify because you're not really going to have a lot of these situations. The point on,
Hey, Justin, real quick, I had a kid last year who he just didn't know any better, and he reached back and, clearly like blocked the ball from going in with his hand. Now, in a game like that, we awarded the goal and we told the kid, you can't do that, but we didn't kick him off the field.
yeah, so okay, I'm going to go on a little sidebar here, but like deny an obvious goal scoring opportunity with the hand is like if there's a shot on goal and a player pretty much hits it out with their hand, who's not the goalkeeper, that's a red card, period. But on your games, like I think if you were to give a yellow card for unsporting behavior, that'd be fine. That'd be the only time I think that you guys would probably have to give a card, but you don't even need to. I mean, if you were to just give a foul, like a penalty kick for that, if it was in the box, I think everybody would be fine with it. So read the game. If like the game's super mellow and that happens, you don't need a card. But I will say when they get up to like U14, they're going to get cards for that. They're going to get a red card for that. Hopefully that makes it a little bit gray, but you have some leeway on that stuff. Any other questions on that one?
Should we, in that situation, do a PK or just give him the goal, I guess, if it's obvious?
No, you can't give the goal. Like if the player actually did like stop the goal, you can't just give him a goal. You have to give him the PK. And then that's why the question is like yellow card, no card, red card. You could go to a red card. You have all the justification to go to a red card. But read the game a little bit, like giving a 8 or 9-year-old a red card may devastate them and they'll never want to play soccer again. So hopefully I'm sorry I can't give a super straight answer on that, but it's tough. Okay, to move on. All right. The reason there's a slide here for coaches is a while ago, we weren't allowed to give coaches cards. We can give coaches cards. You can show a coach a yellow card or a red card now. All right, review questions. So what are the requirements for a foul? Action committed by a player against an opponent, action committed on the field, action committed while the ball's in play, or all of the above? D, good, yep. What's the correct restart if a player trips an opponent? So is that direct or indirect? And trip, remember that's kind of a physical, like that's to the body. So those ones are always direct. It's a contact type foul. What's the correct restart if a player kicks an opponent? Yep. It's contact, so that's direct. What's the correct restart if a player pushes an opponent? Yep. And what's the correct restart if a player commits a dangerous play? So yeah, this one I'm seeing both. Dangerous play is like somebody kicks high and there's a player's head there. If there was no contact, so it wasn't a kick. It was just a dangerous play, so it's indirect. Good, good. Nice job. This was the longest one. And if you're feeling pretty comfortable. Yeah, okay. So after a red card in the U12 game, will the offending team play with one less player? Yes. And if you do have a red card, call me after and tell me what happened so that we can figure out if there's any suspension after that one game. It's very rare. I don't expect any calls, but yeah. Just to confirm, a handball in the box is a penalty kick. Yeah. A handball is a direct free kick. So if it's in the box, it's a penalty kick. Consequences for cards for future games. So only consequences if there's a red card. And generally, if there's a red card, generally that player would have to sit out one game on top of the game that they got the red card in. But like I said, we haven't had any red cards in rec since I've been involved here. Any red cards in U8, U10, U12 rec. All right.
Can we
Let's-
talk about handballs? Like obviously obvious like handballs versus inadvertent handballs.
Yeah.
Like if you're at a wall or you're protecting your face. Are those handballs? Thanks.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. So handling is they keep updating this, but for all intents for this class, a handball is when it's obvious. Like if somebody, like what girls do a lot of times is they'll kick the ball with their hands up in the air. And if the ball hits their hand, the message that we always think about is, did the hand make the body bigger? So if their hands are like this and protecting themselves, if their hand wasn't there, they still would have stopped the ball. So there's no handball there if they're protecting themselves. If their hands are out here like this, that's making them bigger. Like if their hand wasn't here, the ball wouldn't get stopped. So if it hits their hand over here, that's a handball because they're making themselves bigger and their hand was somewhere where it didn't need to be. So that would be the rule of thumb, I would say, is if it makes them bigger, it's a handball. If it doesn't, if they're protecting themselves or, those aren't handballs. They can protect themselves, they can protect their face. Because even if their hands weren't there, it would hit them. But handballs, if there is a handball, it's a direct free kick. Any other questions? Oh, I see some in here. Intentional versus unintentional. Yeah, so if somebody's like running, it's hard. It's number one, it's hard for us to tell intent. I don't know if any of you are lawyers, but it's really hard to tell what someone meant to do. So we just have to go by what the facts are. And if the hand made the body bigger, it's a handball. If it didn't, it's not. It's not whether they meant to touch it or they didn't. It's just whether that the hand made it bigger. Okay. Any other questions on fouls, misconduct, handballs? Okay. Offside, fouls, just the only thing I put in here is no charging the goalkeepers. And next we're going to talk free kicks. Free kicks I kind of pulled from the area we just did, but we are doing direct and indirect free kicks. A few years ago, we just did all indirect free kicks and it was really confusing for everybody. So free kicks, we're going to talk free kicks. So we already talked direct and indirect. Now we're going to talk kind of procedural stuff. So for a free kick, the ball must be stationary prior to being put into play. So the ball can't be moving and then they kick it. It has to be stopped and then they kick it. And then on a free kick, if a player kicks it twice, like if they kick it twice, that's an indirect free kick against them. They can only kick it once on a free kick. Okay, so the ball has to be stationary and they can only kick it once on a free kick. Position. So we already talked about this a bit, but the free kick's taken where the point of the incident occurred. So if the one that always gets people confused is if a player passes the ball back to their keeper and they passed it back, let me go back to the diagram that we have. Let's say they pass it from here back to the keeper. The foul didn't happen here. The foul happened where the keeper picked it up. So at the point where the foul is where the kick happens. And then all the opponents should be 10 or 8 yards away until the ball is put into play. Let's talk about that for a second here. So I put in here 8 yards, 8 yards, 8 yards. All those are 8 yards. And then all of a sudden, when you get to the big field, it's 10 yards. So for your field, 8 yards. So if there's a free kick and somebody asks for 10, they'll say probably 10. You can count off 8 steps and then tell the other team that's where they can go. If they don't ask for anything, you can just urge the other team to back up, but you don't have to mark it off. If they ask, then you mark it off. Make sense?
Yeah, so hey, can you pull up that field again one more time?
Yeah.
So if I'm here and I kick the ball back to my goalie and my goalie picks it up right here, the other team has a direct kick from here in?
So the pass back is an indirect. Remember, there was no contact. So this one's an indirect kick, but they would exactly from right here, from that spot, it would be an indirect free kick.
Okay, got it. We wouldn't move it back to this line outside of the goal box.
Correct. You only move it back in the small box.
Okay, only in the small box. Okay, got it.
Yep. Any other questions on that? Okay.
So one thing, I'm sorry, just to clarify. So and I think I saw this, which one it's different from what I remember. So you cannot throw it into the goalie and you cannot pass it back to the goalie. That's indirect free kick.
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Well, you can pass it back to the goalie, but if the goalie has to kick it with their feet, if they pick it up with their hands, then it's an indirect free kick to the other team.
Correct. In both situations, a pass back or a throw in to the keeper, they can collect it with their feet and that's fine. But if they pick it up with their hands at that point, that's the foul. Is that clear to everyone?
Thank you.
Good. All right, so there's some exceptions, right? Like we've already talked about this. For the indirect free kicks, if it's in the goal box, you move it out to the top of the goal box, whatever's closer. So if it's here, you move it to this one. Here, you move it to here. Everywhere else on the field, though, you put it wherever that foul occurred. Okay, so goal kick. Goalie kicks it twice. Is that an indirect free kick? Man, that's a tricky one. So yes, it could be, but you could also just say, all right, keeper, hey, you messed up. Why don't we redo it? And I would veer on the giving him a retry for most of these. For a goal kick, if they accidentally kick it twice because it didn't go far enough, you could have them do it again. All right, free kicks, position and procedure. Any other questions on how to facilitate one of the free kicks? One thing, since I have this image here, is let's say there was a foul on the somebody fouled the keeper in this goal box. Like they pushed the keeper. The keeper would get a direct free kick. But just like this on an indirect, the keeper can put it anywhere in this box. Doesn't have to be exactly at the spot in the goal box. They can put it anywhere in the goal box. And same thing on a goal kick. Goal kick doesn't have to go on the corners. It can go anywhere in this goal box. So the goal box is the only kind of unique thing around the like position of the ball. That clear? All right. So on an indirect free kick restart, does the ball have to make contact with another player other than the kicker before it enters the goal for a goal to count? That was very wordy. Good. Yeah, yes. Yes is the answer. All right. Law 14. Penalty kicks. So we've talked a lot about this. I'm going to try and maybe reiterate some of the points that are important. All right, so penalty kick. Penalty kick is any direct free kick that happens inside this area is a penalty kick. So if there's a push right over here or a trip right in here, it gets moved to the penalty spot and it's a penalty kick. So let's talk through some of the position stuff. So penalty kick goes on the dot. There's a dot, and then this arch right here is only on the field for penalty kicks. Okay, so you get a penalty kick, someone does a direct free kick issue somewhere in the penalty area. First thing you do is you bring the ball over to the penalty spot and you hand it to the kicker. You want to figure out who's going to take the kick. A lot of times you have to have the coach tell somebody they're going to come over. You hand them the ball. They can put the ball down on the spot, anywhere on the spot they want. And then you talk to the keeper and make sure the keeper stays on the line. They can be on the line or behind the line, and they can move along the line, but they can't be in front of it. Okay. So the keeper can move along the line, be behind the line, but they can't come in front. And then all the players have to be outside the penalty area. They have to be outside the penalty area and outside the arch. So you got to make sure they're all outside, and then you can have the kick happen. The assistant referee in this situation is just watching the keeper to make sure that the keeper doesn't come off the line before the ball's kicked. Okay, so they're watching the keeper. They're also watching to see if the ball crosses the goal line, if it's a goal. So that's penalty area. That's a penalty kick. Okay, now I'm gonna jump down to the procedure. So if there's an encroachment, so remember we're talking right up here, let's say somebody crosses the line before the ball's kicked. Is it okay for the goalie to be in contact with the line with only part of 1 foot? Yes. As long as 1 foot is on or behind the line, you're good. So here's a situation. If people jump early, like if an attacker comes into the penalty area before the ball is kicked, or if a defender comes into the penalty area before the ball is kicked, we have all these situations. So if there's an infringement by the attacking player and it was a goal, then it's a retake. If there's an infringement by an attacking player and it's not a goal, then it's an indirect free kick from where that infringement was. So this is a good table. So if there's an infringement by a defending player and it was a goal, then it's a goal. If there's an infringement by a defending player and it wasn't a goal, then it was a retake. If both teams, then it's a retake either way. So they always put this table, and this is kind of confusing, but if you spend a second and think about it, it makes a lot of sense. So, but that's kind of the situation. Now, there's been some situations that happen in World Cups where they tweak these slightly. So like feinting. Feinting is like if you're running up and you stop and then you keep running, but you don't like necessarily stop completely. You just kind of slow down and go slow and then go fast again. That's allowed on the run up. But if you try to do that as you're kicking the ball, that's not allowed. So that would be an infringement on the attacking team. If the identified kicker doesn't take the kick, like you say, all right, who's taking it? And it's number 6. And then all of a sudden number 9 takes the kick, then that's an infringement by the attacking team. Also if somebody takes the kick and they don't kick it forward, that's an infringement by the attacking team as well. So these are just some little caveats that sometimes if there's a penalty kick, players want to try new things out. So just be aware some of these things will happen if you have a penalty kick. And then, so our review question is if a penalty kick's awarded, is a penalty kick awarded when a defending player commits a foul punishable by a direct free kick against an opponent in the defending player's penalty area? So what this is saying is, would you give a penalty kick if there's a foul, a direct free kick foul in the defending penalty area? Yep, you guys are all tracking. Good. That's law 14, penalty kicks. And then next is throw-ins. And let me just go back to our little one pager. So penalty kicks, throw-ins, goal kicks, corner kicks, we don't have anything else. And we've already talked about all this stuff. So the only thing we haven't talked about is slaughter rule. So slaughter rule is that teams that win by more than 6 goals will have 3 points deducted from their standings. And there is a slaughter rule for U8 and U10. Not that you need to worry about this or say anything, it's just for your awareness. Okay, because as a referee, you don't care if they score 20 goals or 2 goals. For U8, U8 doesn't matter because you're not keeping score this year. I'll even put NA.
Is that last yes column, that white column, is that U12 rec?
Yeah, U12 rec.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, good catch. U12 rec does have the slaughter rule. Okay. No, U8, there's no scorekeeping in U8. There we had issues last year. So there's no keeping score in U8. All right, so throw-ins. Throw-ins, this is common. There's a lot of throw-ins. A throw-in is ultimately how you restart play when it goes out over the touchline. And a goal cannot be scored directly from a throw-in. You'd be amazed, like the Monta Vista team this year had one guy who could do a throw-in like 40 yards. So it's a great weapon, but you can't score directly because people get so good at it. So, okay, the procedure. So there's 4 requirements for a throw-in, for it to be a good throw-in. One, the player has to be facing the field. So if you've ever seen anyone do those flips, those throw-ins where they do a flip and then launch the ball, a lot of times they're looking at their feet. They're not looking at the field. So that's actually why that's illegal a lot of times. But that's why you have to be facing the field. Both feet have to be touching the ground. This is a really common issue at the levels that you're going to be reffing. Is a lot of times the second foot, the back foot will come up really high. And I recommend calling that. Yeah, Nick, for U8, I think you'll be fine with 1 ref because there's no offside. So you guys can just figure out who wants to do that one. The other refs, if there are other refs, they can call the touchline, but the center ref can probably see it just fine. So both feet touching the ground. If one of the feet comes up, I usually give them a little bit of leeway, but if it comes up pretty high, I'll call that, and we'll talk about what to do if you have an issue on a throw-in. Nick, I'll come back to you in a second. So the 4 things are both feet on the ground. You have to have use both hands, and then it has to come from behind the head. So you can use both hands, but you could twist. As long as you're using both hands and it's coming from behind the head, it's fine. So if you twist it or whatever, that's okay. If any of these are wrong, you just blow the whistle, and I'll usually give each team 1 warning. I'll say, all right, team A, you lifted your foot. We're going to retry it, but this is the only retry you get this game. Then if they do it again, then you blow your whistle and it goes to the other team. Throw in for the other team at the same spot. Make sense on throw-ins? All right, we're almost done with throw-ins. The other 2 little procedural things is if they throw the ball and it never comes in, never goes in the field, I let them retry. And they can retry that as many times as they need. At your level, if they do it maybe twice in a row, I might give it to the other team, but you can let them retry it. Also, this is a good example of the players need to be 2 yards. If there's someone trying to cover the thrower, they got to be 2 yards from the thrower. Otherwise, they can get hurt pretty easily. So, yeah. And then Heath, you have a question on if they have to have their feet be behind the line. So their feet have to be behind or even on the line is fine. But if their foot is completely over the line, like if the heel is even touching the line, that's fine. But if their foot is completely over the line, that's where it's a foul. All right. Couple of review questions, and then Nick, I'll get to your questions. A throw-in is awarded when the ball wholly crosses a touchline or goal line, A or B. Yep, the touchline. Can a goal be scored directly from a throw-in? Yep, no, that's right. For a proper throw-in, is the thrower required to face the field and have part of both feet on the ground, either on the touchline or on the area off the field of play? Yeah, very wordy, but okay, that's throw-ins. And Nick, I'm going to come back to your question. Go up here. So for U8, since you don't have offside, I think 1 ref is fine. The coach should not be the referee. Because we had some of that last year, and the other team had a lot of problems because the coach was reffing and coaching their team at the same time, and it's challenging. It's challenging, and the optics aren't good. So definitely try to get 1 to 2 parents to be the referee so that you can focus on coaching. Any other questions around throw-ins or just questions in general? All right, goal kick. So ultimately, a goal kick is when the attacking team, is trying to score on a goal. If they kick it over the goal line, it doesn't go in the goal. That would be the restart would be for the defending team as a goal kick. So like the attacking team kicks it over this line or this line, that's a goal kick. So ultimately, when there's a goal kick, the kick can be taken anywhere in this box, and the ball can be at the very edge, the very edge of the line. That's all fine. But whenever the defending team is going to take the kick, the defending team can be inside the penalty area, but actually you all have the build out line. So they have to be behind the build out line. But if there was no build out line, they all have to be outside of the penalty area. All right. Couple quick questions here. Goal kick is awarded when the ball wholly crosses the goal line or touch line and is when last touched by a player from the attacking team. A or B? Yeah, B. Good. During a goal kick, all the opposing players are required to be outside the penalty area or boundary line until the ball is in play. Good. Everyone saying yes. When is the ball in play from a goal kick? When it is kicked and moved, when it leaves the goal area, when it leaves the penalty area, not until it has been touched by another player other than the attacker. Do A, B, or C. A, B, C, or D. Yeah, good. It's A. When it's kicked and moved. All right, that was goal kicks, and now we're on to the last one, loss 17. So loss 17 is the corner kick, and this is kind of the opposite of a goal kick. So this is when it's last touched by the defending team. Okay, so when the ball crosses the goal line, last touched by the defending team, it's a corner kick. And we have this little hash around the corner. The ball can be placed anywhere in this hash, and it could be on the very edge of the hash, but it can't be completely over the hash. Is that clear? All right, review questions. A corner kick's awarded when the ball wholly crosses a goal line or touch line, and when last touched by a player from the defending team. So A or B? Good, B. Can a goal be scored directly from a corner kick? Good. Man, you're all rock stars. All right, so that's pretty much everything. That's 17 laws. The 18th law is what we call common sense. So there's law 18. For a lot of us experienced referees, we're all like, oh, that's law 18. Like you got to read the game a little bit. So take common sense into account. A lot of these are the laws, but how you enforce them is just common sense. In your games, like if you have a red card, it's going to be extremely rare. Like that's kind of the common sense piece. So we've covered all laws. You all know where this playing rules is. This should help as you're kind of going out there. If you have questions, coaches, everyone, you should all have access to this. So this is a good one pager. That's pretty much all I have. So I'll stay on for a bit longer if anyone has any questions, but otherwise thank you all for your time. I mean, we got through this pretty quick. But you know, hopefully this was helpful and you all learned something today.
Hey, Justin, I missed a few minutes just in the very beginning. Did you mention where we pick up the uniform or we
Oh,
can-
good call.
What?
Good call. Yeah, thank you. So on the grade 9 parent, this is the site that I would recommend just checking, but at the bottom, we have the dates on when you can pick up your uniform. So I got you all uniforms like referee shirts, whistles. I have Mustang badges that you can look somewhat official when you go out there. And so Friday, tomorrow, you can pick up from the Snack Shack at MSC from 4 to 7. The weekend, they're going to have people from 10 to 4. And then Monday through Friday, next week, and I think the following week will be 4 to 7. And all of this is at the Snack Shack at MSC.
Thank you.
Yep. There's a question around slide tackling. Slide tackling is legal. I would say that if people are doing it and it's getting kind of, it's becoming a lot, I might tell the player, hey, just be really careful. It's a fine line between like getting the ball and getting a yellow card, in slide tackling. If you completely miss the ball and you're going in hard, it's a very fine line. So, and I might also tell the coach if you're seeing something that's like, hey, coach, we got to make sure everyone's safe out here. So those are some guidelines I might have around slide tackling. It's legal, but if someone's doing it a lot, it might be something worth talking to the player or at least the coach. And yeah, so referee gear is available. Is the uniform mandatory? If I would just bring it if you can, because it's a lot of times it's hard if you're just wearing a regular shirt. It's hard for the players to see you in the heat of the game. So having a yellow shirt lets them know that you're official and you're the referee. Any other questions, comments?
So, and you may have covered this again, sorry. So which team supplies the referee, or how do we know about the scheduling?
Yeah, so for Nick was making a good point. For U8, the home team should supply the referee, and for U8, since there's no offside, one referee is fine.
Okay.
For U10 and U12, U10, the home team should supply 2 referees and the visiting team should supply 1. So that the home team would have the center and the AR on their side, and the visiting team would have the AR on their side, because teams are going to be on opposite sides. And for U12, I'm going to try to have referees for U12, Rec and Rec Plus. But if not, then the home team should have the center referee and one of the ARs. And if I only have one official referee out there, then like you each have one parent official on the lines to help with offside.
Hey, Justin, for U12, if there's going to be a referee there assigned, that's awesome. It's awesome when that happens, by the way. But there were a couple of times last year where that ref then told the parents, like, hey, you know what? I just want to run it myself. I don't need any ARs. Just like as a heads up that might be. I figure that's their
fine.
prerogative.
Yeah, it's their prerogative. I did let them know that there will be grade 9 referees that went through it. And sometimes they might be like, okay with that, but then they don't want the grade. Technically at the higher levels, we don't want club linesmen calling offside. So that also might be something where they say, oh, okay, yeah, just call the touch line and the goal line, but no offside. And if that's the case, you can pretty much just stand in one spot, talk to your your friends and make the calls.
All right, thanks.
So are there flags for ARs, or is that something we need to pick up? So I don't really supply flags for ARs. What I would say is just use your arm. You know, I don't have enough flags to kind of spread out every season. So yeah, just use your arm, or you can even just like point. Doesn't have to be anything super official. Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the evening, and look forward to seeing you all out there.